you, Cassidy, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. As Cassidy introduced me, she didn't mention one thing. I'm also an author, and the way I'm going to talk to you today is I'm going to start with a story. I'm going to scare you, and then I'm going to give you a positive ending to this, maybe my fifth book, if you like. So I'm with Checkmarx. I'm running product marketing for the company, but very hands-on, building agents myself. I'm a very technical guy. And I'm going to talk to you about two fronts and one risk. The teaser is that it's in the subheader, yesterday's depth and the AI-generated risk that we are all kind of familiar with by using AI coding assistants. So I'm going to start by explaining where are the risks coming from. What are these two fronts that we are talking about? Then I'm going to talk a bit about the economics of exploitation, okay? How easy, fast, and cheap it is to exploit both old legacy security vulnerabilities as well as new while using Cursor, Windsurf, and other AI coding assistants. Then I'm going to talk about the impact, okay? It's not, that's kind of the scary part, okay? It's not just about having two fronts and one risk, but also what does it mean from an application security perspective, software development perspective, and more. And then I'm going to talk about AI. Can AI actually help, because AI is actually causing the issue, can it actually help fix the issue? I won't tell you the answer, you need to stick with me. And then I'll give you, that's the positive part, I'm going to give you the right approach or the solution in my mind, the way I see it. So, the volume is up, that's kind of the scary part, right? We know that everyone is using AI to generate code, but if you look at the numbers here, right? 1.7x more defects per unit of code, okay? 40% more pull requests by your developers, whether it's being used through AI coding assistance or human-generated code. You can see 2.5x projected line of code growth just in 2026, okay? So obviously the volume of code is rising, and it means that the security level and the quality is also being impacted. In one of my books, as I mentioned earlier, I was talking about quality and security are a moment in time, okay? Today you are secured, in 10 minutes you can be breached, you can have an issue. Why? Because every line of code, every change that you are doing to your code base can open the door to a security vulnerability, okay? So think about it. Your developers are now using an AI coding assistant. You had your full cycle of security scanning, everything is fine. 5 minutes later, you actually don't know what's happening, okay? So where the vulnerabilities are coming from, okay? Basically, in the title, we talked about yesterday's depth and the new one, which is the AI-generated code. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. New code, okay? Using AI code generators, that's one front, and this is not the same security issues, the security vulnerabilities that we are used to fixing and finding in traditional scans, okay? These are new things coming from prompt injections, hallucinations, wrong packages, dependencies, and you name it, okay? That's one thing. Second is your existing backlog. I'm sure everyone heard about Anthropic Mythos. Mythos identified already thousands of security vulnerabilities. Some of them are very legacy, very old. They're talking about Mozilla Firefox and some other very legacy systems. And these security vulnerabilities coming from the past, if you could have ignored them for the past years or so, every security vulnerability, the severity doesn't matter anymore, okay? It can be exploited regardless of its priority, which means that's a business risk for you. Okay? You can have a minor security issue in your legacy source code, Java, Python, doesn't matter which code you are using. It can be exploited today, okay? Due to Mythos and other frontier LLM models. So these are your two fronts. And at the end of the day, it's one risk to your business because you don't care where your code is coming from, whether it's generated AI, legacy, and so on and so forth, which means you need to be covering your production pipeline. I've just came back last night from the Gartner Summit in DC, okay? One of the lead analysts over there which is writing actually the Magic Quadrant for agentic security, gave this short message about the tech debt bill is due. Actually, it's due today. Okay, everything that you could have ignored over the past years because it was a low priority security vulnerability, it doesn't really matter anymore. Everything is risky. And with that, I'm almost done with scaring you. Okay, that's part of the first part of the story. But the economics, and that's the final part of me scaring you. Okay, this is the time it takes to exploit security vulnerabilities over the past 8 or 9 years. Okay, you can see here, and it goes down to days. Okay, by 2028, it's going to take minutes, in less than 2 years. Okay, it's going to take minutes to exploit a security vulnerability, regardless of its severity and vulnerability risk. Okay, under 1 minute, think about it. You generate a code, you use AI, Cursor, Windsurf, AWS Kiro, whatever environment that you're using. In 1 minute, someone can exploit your source code after you deploy it to production. Okay, and that's a huge risk. And what is the problem? Okay, we're moving towards kind of the implication. Okay, because okay, we are scared. We know that the storm is coming, but keeping up with that. Okay, I talked about continuously protecting your pipeline, protecting your business. Okay, so when you're talking about actual numbers, the findings are very much growing by Mythos and other frontier LLM models, but fixing them, remediating them, that's actually going down because, think about it, the volume is going up, you don't have the right autonomous system to actually fix and keep up with what's coming, okay? The pipeline is flooded with security issues, and you need to find a needle in a haystack, basically, to make sure what is exploitable, what is the highest risk to your business, so you can keep up. And this is, again, this is the biggest risk. And you don't need to read the image that you see on the left. I actually put the link. That's kind of Mythos Glasswing report from May 22nd, just 1.5 weeks ago. And they're actually showing thousands of findings that they were able to identify from like 5 years, 6 years, 10 years ago in open source software. But if you go down, and they reported it to the open source maintainers, okay? They reported it to the community. At the end of the day, you see like 87 or something. I can't read from here, but it's less than 100 out of thousands of findings that were only patched right now. So everything that they were able to identify is now a ticking bomb for any organization that is using this open source, which means this is how the fixing is becoming the key part. Finding is cheap, finding is quick, and you just need to start focusing on how do I keep up with everything and remediate these issues. So, and I promise that's one of the last slides that I'm going to scare you guys, okay? This is called Apocalypse, and this is kind of how you need to think about what's coming in your software development lifecycle. By the way, I'm no longer calling it SDLC. I'm calling it ADLC, Agentic Development Lifecycle, because you have agents across all of your key building stages, from the IDE through the CI/CD pipeline up until runtime, AI SREs, and so on and so forth. So it's ADLC basically right now. It's no longer just software. And I would actually give you one more sentence, and this is, if up until recently we were used to talking about IDEs, Integrated Development Environment, today AI is the development environment, okay? If last year you used, I don't know, VS Code, IntelliJ, and other software development environment, no one is using these anymore. You're using either Cursor, Claude Code, or just agentic layers from command line interfaces, okay? So everything is shifting towards agentic. That's why I call it ADLC right now. So, before I move to the next slide, can AI help? Yes? Okay. Let's see. So, AI can help, okay? You're absolutely right. AI can help, but AI cannot help on its own, okay? That's kind of where we talk about the separation between church and state. AI can help, and it helps partially, because you've seen that in my previous slide, right? Mythos identified 50,000 or 15,000, it doesn't matter, vulnerabilities. Throughout the identification, only 87 or 90 security issues were actually patched and fixed. So I can get you up until a certain point. And by the way, when they communicated these patches to the open source community, not everything, and they actually give numbers in their report, not everything was a true positive. Okay? There are a lot of kind of false alarms, which means there are a lot of false positives. And think about it, if you have thousands of these, this is noise. How do you focus and how do you find really the needle in a haystack? So AI can help up until a certain level. You do need the independent control plane that can actually identify what's really important, what's really with context that matters to your business and to your customers. So the access control, there are this is just 3 items that shows that AI can get you up until a certain point. Okay, and obviously AI is maturing, we know it, that's why we are all here. AI is maturing, but from a security standpoint, you do want to have a security independent layer, and you don't want to get your students grading their own exam. Okay, you want this separation. So, what does it mean to have an independent control plane? It means that you have an architecturally separated environment, okay, the one that actually has different context says you have multiple models, okay. Mythos is one. We all heard about OpenAI Daybreak, right? You have Gemini, you have so many different models. You want to have more than one model that gives you a little bit of credibility and confidence that what's being identified actually is real, because I can tell you, as a software engineer myself, when I'm actually putting a prompt to build, I don't know, a Java class or something in Python, 5 times the same prompt, guess what? You're going to get different code, okay? I'm asking the same prompt, I'm asking the same thing, I'm getting 5 different responses. I can test the 6th time, I can guarantee it will be also different, okay? This is why, even with Mythos being very, very frontier and very advanced, you know, 5 times getting from Mythos a security report, you know, will produce different outputs, okay? You need this separation, and you need a deterministic layer that actually tells you with confidence what really matters. So what is a governance framework that actually keeps up with everything that goes on? Hybrid, okay? I talked about just a bit about the probabilistic model, and this is kind of Mythos, Opus, all the AI layers that can really help, okay? I'm not saying anything bad. We're actually partnering with these guys, and they're doing a phenomenal job in identifying at high scale, at high speed, security issues. This is amazing, but they're giving you up until a certain level a probabilistic approach, a probabilistic output, which means you need the deterministic layer. And what does it mean, a deterministic? It's rule-based. It comes also with context, okay? When I'm scanning from one of our almost 2,000 enterprise customers, their code base, okay? We have the context, we understand their use cases, their business cases. We are agnostic to their programming languages. Guess what? When you're dealing with an enterprise which has 10,000 code repositories, they are across different languages. Okay, you want to have the right context, the right use case. You want to have secure access to their environment so you can actually determine what really matters. So the hybrid approach, what we are talking about here, is the mix between the deterministic layer, which is the rule-based independent layer that I talked about earlier, together with the probabilistic AI model, but all combined with context. Okay, that's the key part. So, if you don't take my word for it, okay, this is something that we have just concluded last week. Okay, this is Checkmarx testing against, it's not the latest one, Opus 4.7, because Opus 4.8, it's either in advanced beta or almost GA. While I'm speaking here, everything changes every second. So let's say 4.8 is the latest one. This is the latest -1. We tested Checkmarx against the exact same production code, not any fake source code, and we didn't just tested it against one code repository or one programming language. Python, Go, C#, okay? Different production code bases, and look at what we identified. We identified way more true positives That's kind of about the hallucinations and the false positives that AI sometimes gives you. Second, we identify way more security vulnerabilities, 327 more security vulnerabilities identified, okay? It can be just one, by the way. If it matters to your business, it can be just one more that actually moves the needle for you, okay? And third, and this is very much important, and I don't think it gets the right credit, that's the F1 score. I don't know, guys, if you are familiar with the F1 score. Someone is nodding, you know. So F1 score actually means precision and recall, okay? You are able to identify the right security vulnerabilities and the ones, actually, you identify everything that you can identify, but B, you identify the right security issues. So the combination of precision and recall matters a lot. And our score, when we did this benchmark, was 0.49, which is 2.5 almost more, 2.5x more than Opus and some other vendors, which I'm not going to mention here, okay? And this is a lot, okay? And as I mentioned, it can be just one security issue that slips, and it makes the whole difference. So what is needed, and I'm sorry about a very messy slide, it's very easy to understand, honestly, okay? This is how the Checkmarx One platform looks like. It is built or divided into 3 main layers, 3.5 actually. The first one is the agentic control points. As I mentioned, we are no longer in SDLC, we are in ADLC. So these are all the control points from coding. It can be AI coding, CLI, doesn't matter. Then you have the pull request, the build process. You have the AI supply chain, and I will say a word about the supply chain. And then you have the runtime environment, what happens in runtime. And by the way, runtime today can be reached in few minutes. You can do a CI/CD pipeline with AI that reaches your production environments quite fast, faster than ever before. So A, you want to protect across the entire ADLC, across all the control points that you have in your build environment, okay? The way Checkmarx is doing that, we have an agentic layer, which consists right now out of 3 agents. The first one is the developer assist agent. This is an agent that lives in Cursor, Windsurf, AWS Kiro. It can actually be used also through CLI and through Cloud Code coming soon, okay? And you can actually prompt from Cloud Code something, and you'll get from our agent the security response. The best approach is if you are building either using AI coding assistant or manually in Cursor, some code, can be also VS Code, by the way, if you're still using that. Dynamically, any code, any line of code that you are producing, the developer agent is going to scan it in runtime, in real time, okay? And flag, red flag, will show you what is the security issue over there. And it gives the developer, sorry, AI engineer, no one is a developer anymore. We are all AI engineers. So the AI engineer can get the control and do the fix with the developer assist agent. So this is the first control point. Even before you reach the pipeline, you can eliminate some of the security vulnerabilities, okay? And guess what? When you're changing a line of code, anyone that is an engineer here in the room, you break something else, okay? That's life. So this developer assist agent is also able to do what we call safe refactor, which means if a dependency was missed, if something was broken by the fix of the security issue, it will actually refactor your code, making sure that the build does not break or fail just because of this patch. The next layer is the triage and remediation. Anyone that is using GitHub, usually you have a pull request action, meaning when something changes, when you do a code change, a scan happens. Same here. You are doing a pull request, you change the code, AI, doesn't matter how you do the code change, a pull request is being triggered, a security scan starts, kicks off, the triage agent scans, of course AI-based, the GitHub scan or the results or the output, and identifies the right issues, the right true positives based on attackability, based on exploitable path, making sure that everything that was identified in this triaging phase is a real threat to your business. It then hands over the control to the remediation assist agent fully autonomous, and it fixes your code for you. Everything happens in the second control point. Remember, the first one was the development environment. The second is the GitHub pull request. So you're getting two safety nets, two security checkpoints, if you like, in your process. The third one is the entire AI supply chain. Why is that important? AI supply chain today, you can use AI supply chain with different models, right? LLMs, MCPs, agents, data sets, you name it, right? Everything that you have within your AI supply chain, again, I just came back from DC. One of the analysts was saying, every token is a new attack surface right now. And that's correct, okay? Every token in your LLM model can be an attack surface. That's why you need the AI supply chain. What is the AI supply chain? It's an AI bill of materials, okay? Global inventory, giving you the full visibility into what's going on. What are your developers doing? What are they up to? 2 a.m. or not, and what are they using that can actually pose a risk to your business. Once you have the visibility, you can protect against it. How? By doing policy enforcements against either rogue LLMs, agents, because we know that there are offensive agents. Not every agent is good as the developer assist, right? There are agents that can actually harm your business, which means you need the visibility and control. Last but not least, in this control points is the runtime environment. That's DAST, Dynamic Application Security Testing. DAST allows you to correlate security findings from runtime environments back to the line of code that actually generated this security incident, okay? So think about it, you have a closed loop between the coding environment up until production, all through agentic layer. But you're seeing more things here on the screen, okay? So I will just connect them now for you. We talked about the ADLC, we talked about the control points. You also need the ASPM, the Application Security Posture Management, and this is how you manage the risk, okay? Think about it, a single pane of glass of everything around security that your developers, application security engineers, AI engineers, no one is a developer anymore, can actually view and take decision based on data. Okay, so this is kind of how you orchestrate the risk, enforce the policies, because not everything lives just in your environment, in the development environment. You need an executive level view and dashboard, and that's kind of how the Checkmarx ASPM gives you this visibility layer. Last but not least are the hybrid engines. Everything that generates security outputs is a security engine. There can be engines like SAST, Static Application Security Analysis, can be DAST, can be AI supply chain or software supply chain security, SCA, secrets, malicious packages, okay? It's all. For you, it doesn't really matter. You care about the output, you care about how you take action at a high speed when every risk might enter your pipeline. So in a single platform of Checkmarx One, you actually get both the ADLC coverage from code to cloud, code to runtime, across risk visibility and orchestration, and all the security engines that give you this visibility. So, to summarize, I promise that it's going to be a good story at the end of the day. So, 5 pillars, 1 platform, 0 compromise. I think that's AI generated this line. So, completeness of findings, that's important. Highest fidelity. Highest fidelity, if you remember, going back to the F1 score, okay? You want to trust what AI gives you or security output is giving you, because remember, quality and security is a moment in time, okay? If you take just this line, you're scared enough. But honestly, you want to have the highest fidelity with whatever your security output is giving you. And you need to have it autonomous, because guess what? The Volpocalypse thing that I've showed you is just going to grow, because Mythos just paved the way to others. Daybreak, I think, just came and copied from Anthropic Mythos, and we don't know what is the next frontier model. Okay, so model agnostic or many more models are just going to come and are going to be more sophisticated, and all the hackers, the attackers of today, are very AI focused, okay? AI is the new attack surface. They're targeting now IDE extensions. They're targeting these models because they know that's kind of the back door, if you like, to your organization, okay? So you need the AI supply chain visibility. You need the agents that can actually cope with the fast pace of this innovation, and you need to do it with governance, okay? You need audit trail. You need to actually also prove that you are, or at least have visibility that you are doing things right continuously. Continuous, that's a key word here. So I will leave you with just one last sentence. Discovery is solved, okay? We know it's very easy, very fast, and actually very cheap to find security issues in today's world, okay? High fidelity issue remediation. That's kind of the next challenge, or that's the challenge of today. If we talk next year, actually, I can't even imagine what I'm going to talk to you about next year because it moves so fast, but definitely for the near term, high fidelity remediation, that's the biggest challenge, that's the biggest pain that we are hearing from our customers and from the market. And again, I just came from the Gartner Summit. This was one of the main topics that everyone was talking about. How you protect agents, how you manage AI within your enterprise organizations, and keep up with everything that comes up. So with that, I'd like, if there are any questions, I would like to give you like 1 or 2 minutes for questions, but also shameless plug here. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be on a virtual stage with many distinguished guests from Capital One and other organizations. So we are having the Agentic Summit, the 2nd annual Agentic Summit. Last year we had about 3,000 members or registrants. It's checkmarx.ai if anyone guesses what's behind the barcode, but feel free to scan it and attend. Meet me again. I promise you new content. I'm not going to repeat this content, so you won't be bored. But with me, you're going to see so many different distinguished guests, and we're actually going to show you some nice demos and more research outputs from our research team. So I strongly invite you and encourage you to join. And with that, if you have any questions, this is the time. If you want to see something in action, we have a booth. I don't know its number, but it's very easy to find. Straight over there, the Checkmarx booth. I'm going to be there all day, and happy to engage with you guys. Thank you for being here. Any questions, if there are?
Hi, I'm James. I work at Bloomberg. The stat that you mentioned where AI-assisted development was producing 1.7x kind of flaws and vulnerabilities, what's the leading explanation for why that happens, why LLMs do that compared to humans doing the same task?
So to answer this question, where do we think LLMs are taking the information from, right? When you're asking an LLM, Mythos or some other model to generate code for you, okay, it uses the open source libraries, okay? These models were trained on what's public, okay? What's public is the open source. And we know that open source by definition, I won't say sucks, but it is very broken. I can tell you just in Checkmarx, we have over 420,000 malicious packages that we identified across the different registries, NPM, .NET, different languages, right? I got, just before I landed here, I got an information from my research team that they found over the last month 1,000 more malicious packages. So it's 421 actually, 1,000 malicious packages. So we keep finding these things, and guess what? These LLM models are using open source. They're using, that's kind of their backdoor to what you are producing when you are prompting from Cursor, Kiro, Windsurf, and the likes. So the source is broken, basically, and that's kind of how it flows back to everything that we are creating.
Hi. I had a question. If you were to use the same pipeline, so all the system is the same, but you substitute Mythos for Sonnet or an OpenAI model, how do the results differ?
So obviously there will be, Mythos, by the way, is not publicly available, so you cannot use it, but let's say you're using, unless you're Bank of America and the very unique vendors that do have access to the beta or whatever version that Mythos is right now at. But even without code generation right now, okay, I'm using Claude Code daily. And you have Sonnet, and you have Opus, and you have Haiku, and you have different models as well. And you see it. You get a prompt with Sonnet 4.6, Opus 4.6 and Sonnet, and you see the difference of, in the quality of prompts, okay? AI actually tells you, you want to pay more, you will get more. Basically, that's a new token of, that's kind of the expense model right now, the consumption model. The more you pay, the better you get outputs, and that's kind of how the models differentiates, okay? When you're comparing Mythos to Opus to other models, okay, you're going to get either less security vulnerabilities, or you're going to get less context specific output. So you want to create a source code in Java and you want to create specific class, the context will be much worse when you are using a different or a lower tier model.
Okay, is substituting for a more expensive model worth the cost?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I think that I'm speaking with many engineers almost on a daily basis. It's an endless consumption for you, because you're building every day 10 times X source code. So you can substitute to a better model, you'll get better output, but the cost is also going to continuously grow on you. And what we are seeing right now, we are seeing some kind of a realization in the market, because the budgets aren't infinite. Okay, and you think, okay, that's my engineering budget for 2026 or 2027, and now I need to, okay, the budget is based on this model, the budget is based on this model, because the tokens are different in the pricing. So to your question, it's worth the output. It's all about your budget, right? So in some cases, you might say, okay, maybe I do want my engineers to write the code on their own for this specific project, rather than using the most expensive AI model. So that's the trade-off. But yeah, it's a given. You're using the best models, you're going to get the best outputs. Not the best, everything has flaws, but yeah, I hope you get it.